What's up traders, John Howell here, officialjohnhowell.com, and in this video we're going to look at the ES, we're going to look at the Dow, we're going to look at some support and resistance levels, also we're going to look at the Russell and Nasdaq. And the interesting thing is, guys, Russell Nasdaq is actually doing something different to the Dow. What is it? Let's get straight into the charts, or let's get straight into the segment, and I'll show you what I mean.
Do not place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video today, because trading is risky and it can cause substantial financial loss. There are so many areas you need to become good at to become a good trader. Emotional mastery, chart reading, trading systems, money and trade management. So this video is just educational only to help you become a much better trader.
Alright traders, so what do we actually have on the whiteboard today? We're going to get into the chart segment in just a minute. But what we actually see here is this, and it's really interesting that you see this. With the ES and Dow, what's happening right now is this. You're seeing that the ES and the Dow is actually, let me get a marker here. The ES and the Dow, what's actually happened is it's actually a long time ago, or a couple of days ago, it broke through resistance, and now it's hitting a resistance level. It broke through resistance, which is now support. And so what happened is, it's come down. We had a little doji day, we had a down day here, and then we had another down day here. We're right on that support level, both for the ES and Dow. Now here's the thing. This is the support level for the ES and the Dow. I'll focus on the Russell in a minute, and I'll show you what I see on the Russell and the Nasdaq in a minute. The ES and Dow, we are at a determining moment right now on the ES and the Dow. Let me show you the reason why. We are at a support level. If it breaks this support level down here, and we do get a good volume spike, and let's just call this line here the average volume, okay, which is basically like a 50-day moving average on the daily chart. If we do see that, then we actually see a lot more downside to come on the actual chart itself. Make sense? So that's what we're seeing there on the ES and the Dow. We're going to see it on the charts in a minute as well too. But when we actually see the Russell and Nasdaq, one thing I see on the Russell and Nasdaq, which I can clearly see time and time again, right now on the charts, is that on the Russell and Nasdaq, we're actually seeing that it's continued to make these lower peaks despite of what's even happening with the markets. And that's actually a telltale sign that, especially on the Russell and Nasdaq, those type of stocks, those indices, are still showing overall weakness. Remember, it's all in the peaks and troughs, and it's not until, like, the market where it is right now, the market does stop and stops through here, and we get a blast off like that. If that does happen, and we get an increase in volume, well, guess what? Now we're likely to start spending some more time to the upside on the Russell. Make sense? So now, guys, I've got a detailed chart segment to go through with you right now, so let's get to the charts.
Alright traders, so let's have a look at the charts now. Let's actually look at the S&P first, Sp500 first. And the one thing I do say, guys, is that, and the reason why I say we're not out of the woodworks yet, is because we can actually see what we're seeing here right now. We can still see that even though we had on the Sp500, even though we had a down day yesterday, and I was expecting, I said that in yesterday's video, I was expecting more downside to come. You can see here we had a down day, bit over 0.5% down. Look at the volume. The volume is actually like almost half of what it was yesterday. And the thing is, you're still seeing this decrease in volume, and as this move has been happening. So that's not a sign that the buyers are coming out. Oh, sorry, the sellers are coming out. We want to get some spikes over the average. Once we start getting that, then that's when we can start seeing some movement. For example, you see this spike here, right? This spike here. You saw that spike there. It broke above it. What do we see next day? Next day we saw a race back above to the next resistance levels. So when you got volume and you got price action, they come together, right? So you got support resistance, price action, and volume. When they speak with each other, like this one here, broke resistance, you're likely to get a quick pop to the next resistance really quickly. So anyway, that's for another video. With this market update, guys, I want to show you that with this pullback here, we're actually at this area of support and resistance. Now, that support and resistance, if I go to the weekly chart, this weekly chart, you can see here, this overall level through here which is this point through here, this is the area of support and resistance. It's actually that there, and also as low as yeah, so basically that whole area through there is actually a support level through that. Now if it does break that, then yeah, we got some downside to come. And so that's where we are in decision. We're still in decision time. Now even if it does break up a little bit, and this is a bit of caveat here, and I know it sounds a bit weird, bit of a caveat, but you know, I'm personally still waiting for what is it going to do? Are we going to break these levels of support? If we do, then yes, we got some downside to come, and we've probably got a good 3 to 4%, and we're likely to keep going down towards the lows. If we do break this support level here with good increase in volume, then yes, this downside is where it's likely to go. If we do break above this resistance level here with good volume, then we have a resistance level up the top here. And you can see that point right through there. So this is the weekly sort of resistance through there. You can see that there. Now that's where, you know, running into there. And I think November we got the debt in the US. I think the debt's got to start. I think they may default on their payments. I think that's the reason why they pushed it back from October to November. I think it was. And so that's where you may see that, and then maybe a crash. Looking forward through there, so you can see we're actually at these levels right where we are right now, and that's where we are on the S&P 500. Looking at the Dow Jones had a pullback. It had a bit more of in volume as well too, a bit more volume coming into it, and you see a bit of a pullback, but you can see it came right down to this level of support, which has been support here. It broke it, and now we're right on that level of support. We did get a spike in volume. Do we actually break that? The moving average doesn't mean anything to me, by the way, guys, because it doesn't really respect it. It just gives me a gauge of where everything's at. So if we do get a bit more follow through, the volume on the S&P, on the Dow Jones had a lot more volume there than we see on the other indices. So we saw that there. We saw it on the Russell as well too. Russell, we had another down day. You can't really tell the volume on this chart, but we had another down day. I said yesterday expecting more downside with that there, and we are. The one thing about the Russell, guys, is the only chart that's continued to make lower peaks and lower troughs. So I'm on the Russell, I'm expecting more downside to come, unless otherwise, or unless we actually really start to get some turnaround and some big turnaround here. So, but the Russell is really starting to pull away, and the same with the Nasdaq. And that's one thing I want you to keep looking out for, guys. Okay, it's very, 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 very crucial that you be looking at a few things here on the overall picture. The first thing I want you to keep an eye out for is, let's have a look here, is the peaks. Okay, we've got to make sure the peaks are low. This is a lower peak. This was a peak here. This made a higher peak, and now we're making sort of an equal peak, bit of a double top formation, and now we're pulling back. Okay, so you can see that there. You can see on the Dow, what's the Dow done with the peaks? Now the Dow's made low peak, low peak, low peak, and then we got the move down. Now we're making a peak. Now we're making a higher peak. So if we really want to see this thing if this thing does get into a bear market, we want to see it close below this lows here to start getting a downward trend. Make sense? So, but apart from that, the other indices such as the Russell, this one has been clearly making lower peak, lower peak, lower peak, lower peak, lower peak, and lower peak. You probably could call this maybe a little bit of a higher peak, but if it was a high peak, came down, it sort of came back up. If you look at the major swings, this one here is the major swing. Makes sense? So you see they're making lower peaks and lower troughs, especially on the Russell. The Russell was looking very, very weak overall, and the same with the Nasdaq as well too. Nasdaq overall, if you're looking at these swings, lower peak, lower peak, lower peak, and then lower peak. So we are still continuing this downward movement. So pressure is still on the downside, okay? And that's where, like, I'm still in the bear camp until otherwise. But even if the market does pop up, you can see here that this even on the Nasdaq, you can see this sort of point through here. This little point through here, that's where the Nasdaq actually had problems breaking through. So looking at the peaks and troughs, guys, the peaks and troughs are actually showing us what's actually happening in the markets, and the peaks and troughs are showing us what's actually going on there. Russell's looking very weak. The Russell's starting to pull back a lot more as well, and starting to pull down as well too. But it's just the top two, the big top two, which is the Dow Jones, That's at a bit of support level. It has got a spike in volume as well too. You want to see a bit more spike in volume, and also especially on the S&P, you want to start getting a bit more follow through. If we do start to break these two levels through here, especially this 1980 level, and we start to get a good close below there, then yeah, you'll start to see things like I talked about in yesterday's video, where you can see that if we do get a close below here, guys, we do have a lot more downside to come. We get a close below there. You can see we've got a bit more volume today, but you're still seeing that overall, and if I just draw it out for like through there, you can see overall we're getting that downward slope of volume. We definitely want to see a spike above that average volume there, and then that's what we want to see there. So you can see that through there. If we do get a down day tonight moving forward, then we're likely to see this gap being closed. So that's what I see in the charts, guys.
So traders, you see this segment, right? You see the charts. You can see what's actually happening on there. You can see especially on the SPY, on the S&P, on the Dow. You can see it on the charts there, right? That what is actually happening is we're actually getting those lower peaks on there. That's quite interesting, right? You can see the sellers keep knocking down. And if it keeps making lower peaks, we are going to spend more time to the downside. Now, what's going to happen with the Russell? I mean the ES and the Dow? Well, we don't know, right? But what I do say is it's right on the support level. Last couple of days we've been saying we're not going to spend more downside. This is a do or die situation for the ES. Do or die situation for the ES. But even if that does happen, as I said on the chart segment, even if that does happen, meaning if the market does hold and we start to get some blast off through here, then we have a lot of resistance up here, both on the ES and the Dow. We both have a lot of resistance up here, and this is where it's likely to fall into troubles as well too. So right now, where we are right now, and I'm going to do this, right in this area, picture that actually on the actual charts itself as well too. That whole area is a bunch of support and resistance levels all stacked up against each other. That's where we are right now. We need to evacuate this area. We need to move around this area. If we do move to the high side, guys, then we're likely to see it get to the resistance levels. If it does hold there, then we're likely to see the crash that most people were talking about coming in 2016. But one day at a time, one chart at a time, we can actually see right now as I speak that if the market does run up, we'll likely spend a little bit more time to the high side and then maybe the pullback. But we'll let the charts do the talking for us. Make sense? So that's what I do see, guys. On the ES, I see on the Dow, and the one thing I do see, guys, is that if we do get a little pop to the high side, I'm not buying this downside too yet. On the Russell and ES, we are continuing to see that weakness there. But on the ES and the Dow, the Dow's had a little bit more spike in volume, but the ES has not. And that's actually telling you something. That is actually saying that this downward move that we're seeing right now in the ES and Dow is actually not as strong as people would think it'd be. Okay, so many people on the bear camp, but I'm not on the bear or bull. I'm just trading the markets. I'm trading for what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is the market's pulling back with not increasing volume. Not big spikes in volume. Now the Dow has got an increase in volume, yes, but we're not seeing this. We're not seeing this increase in volume on the ES right now. If we do break this support level, as I say before, we do break the support level on the ES with some good volume, then yes, we can expect at least another week to the downside, going down and possibly even going down towards the August lows, which happened with the crash back in August. Yeah, so anyway, guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this update, this little update. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, success can be yours if you go claim it. So step up, take massive action, and face your fears today.